Hello and welcome. Of course, those of you who know me, you know I'm Janet Taylor. I am the life organizer, and I am so excited because we're going to have a conversation from the big house to the cozy corner with Connie Mackey, and she is Silver Hair Wisdom. And I'm going to let her tell you a little bit about, Silver Hair Wisdom and that mission and that community. And the reason we wanted to come together, because this is a part of a series. So, just stay tuned for the rest of it. But we really wanted to come together because we wanted to really share some wisdom, some knowledge, some insight. Because when you reach a certain age, because I'm over 60, there's certain things sometimes you just don't need anymore. And I'm going to share about a conversation I had with a mutual friend of ours yesterday. It was almost a light bulb moment. She was like, I'm getting rid of something in the kitchen. And I was like, wait a minute, I don't even use my pans anymore. Why am I holding on to it? But I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to let Connie share about silver hair wisdom, and then we can start our conversation from the big house to the cozy corner.
I love it. Thank you so much, Miss Janet. This is so wonderful. Well, let me tell you, Silver Hair Wisdom is an absolute mission from my heart. I am creating a space for women that just they don't fit anymore in their life. So many of us have spent years just doing what's expected of us, and all those expectations come with the programming along with it. And I just want to create a community that is about trusting the wisdom within that women have always carried, getting back in touch with it. So,
Mm. And I loved it. And I loved it. And that's why I wanted to have this conversation. And, as I was preparing for this, one of the things, first of all, because I've known you have really truly learned how to navigate life. Whatever comes your way, you learn how to navigate it. You have to plan, you're organized. And we'll talk about that today, but also in other series as well. But one of the things I was shocked, I didn't realize you really truly came from a big house, because I know where you're living now. It's smaller, but you came from a huge house.
I
And
did.
I mean, just how, you know, and I think sometimes we don't realize that our spaces are reflect our identity, but also our creativity. And in
Right.
that big house, I guess, where were you in life? I only can imagine, because I know you're a mother and a grandmother, but
Yeah.
you went through that big house.
Exactly. And I have always had a big house for my family. I always wanted to have room for my son whenever he wanted to come and stay, or if he needed to come and stay. And now that I have grandchildren, it's like I need to make room for them. So I need to have enough space so they don't get on my nerves, and I can send them someplace else. And so I needed to have the space. In addition, I have been an entrepreneur for, 20, almost 30 years now. And I have always had an office space in my home, even, before COVID, before it was, popular to have your own space. So I needed the room to have my office. I needed an extra room that I never really used, just in case I had guests or family or kids or whatever that just came by. So I that's what I thought that I needed. So that's why I continually had a big house. And you know what the crazy part is? Is that they never came. I had this big old house and they never came. Oh, well, friends came. Friends came, I'll say that. But, but yeah, yeah, I was living for someone else. Living for
Mm,
someone else
mm.
and not
And
for me.
this made me think, because Connie, when I used to live with my mother, she had three bedrooms, and one actually, because she actually transformed almost into my playroom, which all my toys were in there. Yeah, I was one of those people. I was one, one of but when I got older, it was transformed into the office.
Yes.
Just a short story. I was going to move out. I got laid off. So she's like, well, where are you going to go now? And then, so, I stayed with her, but I realized I always thought I needed all of that space.
Exactly. Yes.
And then, of course, I was able to stay in that space after she passed, and I was like, "Yeah, I want all this space," but then it seems like I would get smaller spaces after that, and it was like, "Huh, this isn't too bad. I can make this work." But how did you realize, like, at some point that the belongings no longer fit with who you were? I mean, because you were in that house and you said you had it because, you wanted people to have a space, a place to
Mhm,
stay, but nobody. So
mhm.
what was that point that triggered, like, you know what, maybe I need to kind of downsize? Ooh.
It took me a long time, Janet. And I remember that you were the catalyst for sending me all these tiny house videos. And I would look at those darn tiny houses and I would say, "Yes, Janet, these tiny houses are fabulous. Oh, yeah, I could see myself there." But all the while in the back of my mind, I knew I needed two bedrooms. I needed 14 to 1600 square feet, and I needed to have an office space. Well, last year, when I lost the vision in my eyes, when
Mhm,
I
mhm,
couldn't see, and I was living in Las Vegas, and I was in a two-bedroom, 1,000 square foot a condo with the garage attached and all of that, had all the room. I was sitting there by myself with
mhm,
my stuff and no family around. And and I didn't have a large support system when I lost my eyesight. And I tell you, I have not, God, I'm admitting it, this is the first time, I was really scared because I still had to do things on my own.
mhm,
And I was afraid to ask for help. Like so many of us are afraid that we're going to be strong and we can
mhm,
handle it and
mhm,
all of this.
mhm,
And
mhm,
it was then that I spent some time with myself and I said, I need to go home. I need to be around people that can support me. And at that moment is when I said, okay, I'm going to have to go and live with my son in his just one bedroom. And this stuff has got to go. This stuff that I have here, it's time for me to figure out something to do with it. So hey,
mhm,
I started selling stuff. I started giving something away. I started just going through everything, and everything that I hadn't used in a year, it's like done. I'm gone.
mhm,
And so I needed the money to move because I didn't have my eyesight from October until January or
wow.
February of last
Mm,
year. And
mm,
so I wasn't able to work. I couldn't do
mm,
anything. It was an awful time for me. So once I finally went to the doctor, I found enough money to go to the doctor and help get the steroids for my eyes is when I really started going through my packing and going through my stuff and deciding. And the crazy part, Janet, was that I had to decide, what am I going to pack? What am I
mhm.
going to sell? What's going to go in my car, which is going to
Mhm,
go to Portland, Oregon from Las Vegas? It's like I had to have three buckets of trying to figure out how was I going to do this. So that was the beginning. That was the beginning of starting to pare things down of what I really needed and what I don't need. Now, understand, I did not get to the point still of living in no tiny house. I just want to let you know that.
I
I
know, I
have
know.
thought in my mind that I'm still going to have my stuff.
Mhm,
I'm still
mhm,
going to have it. I'm still going to have that, two
mhm,
bedroom for an office.
mhm, mhm,
But
mhm.
yeah, yeah, things changed when I got to my son's house. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Mhm,
that's a whole nother story. Whole nother
mhm.
story.
And as you were talking, I was thinking about the time when I had to move out of an apartment the space I'm in now wasn't quite ready. So therefore, I lived with someone and I had to put my stuff in storage. And it
Oh.
was surprising to me that I was able to still have fun, work with clients. I even
Mm.
went out one night for a black tie something, and I didn't have access to everything. I had like two big suitcases, and I'm thinking, do I really need all that stuff? And now I think I'm at a place where I'm beginning to look at my stuff differently because it's like some of my stuff is still in boxes, and I'm like, do I need all that stuff? Because like you said, I'm in that mindset. Oh, well, maybe I'll get a two-bedroom because then I'll have an office, and then I'll be able to use all the little stuff. But I'm thinking,
Yes,
is that really my reality?
absolutely.
So one of the things I'm always amazed with you is that you have been very organized with all of the different times you've had to move in your life, whether it's cross town or cross country, you have been organized because there's so many different pieces. It's not only
Oof.
the stuff, but then you had to figure out, okay, this is where I'm going to be staying.
Yeah.
Then you had to do all the stuff when your license and this,
Mm.
that, and the other.
Mm.
I mean, like,
Mm.
how important was that for you to plan and organize?
Let me tell you, it was so difficult for me. Only because I really am a big picture person. I like, okay, my intention, I'm moving.
Mhm,
There.
mhm,
However, all that other stuff happens, then it's just going to happen. But I am so grateful for friends that know how to organize and that can give suggestions like you, Miss Janet Taylor. I tell you, and then my son as well. I mean, because
mhm,
I personally I get overwhelmed with
mhm,
all of the little tiny details. I just it is so much until I finally just stop. And with technology nowadays, it's like, there's a computer program that can organize things for you, and then of
mhm,
course there's artificial intelligence that can
mhm,
do it as
mhm,
well. And for
mhm,
me, I need to be able to see it black and white.
mhm,
So
mhm,
I got pen and paper. I started making my list. This is what's going here. This is what's going here. This is what's going here. And I just started checking things off. But I tell you, I had to have various conversations with people just to get me to that point, to pull me down off the ledge. Because, honey, I was on the ledge. All I knew was that I was going. And however it was going to happen, then that was how it was going to happen. But what one thing that and this isn't a plug, but I have to plug it because it was such a monumental thing for me, especially with all the moves that I had, was when you referred me to that guy with the labels.
mhm,
And to be able to label my boxes that are going into storage and to be able to take pictures of what's inside those boxes, I never knew how monumental that was until after I had moved. That I mean, because it's great to just do it, but
mhm,
when
mhm,
I had when I decided that I really needed to downsize, and I had to wrap my mind around, okay, how am I going to do it? I had this list of what I have in my boxes and what I could get rid of and what needed to stay. It was
mm,
a beautiful organizing
mm,
tip. And I've never used it before. All the years that I have moved, I've never used those labels before. And fabulous, absolutely fabulous.
mm,
So thank you for that. Thank you for that
mm,
suggestion. It's perfect.
mm. And
Great.
as you were talking, it must have been because your storage was one place,
That's
you
in
were in
Las
another.
Vegas. Yes.
Yeah, and you were in.
Moving to
Wow,
Portland, Oregon, or Gresham, Oregon.
wow.
Yes,
Mm,
yes.
mm.
And being that far away from my stuff,
Oh
it's
yeah,
like,
yeah,
oh, oh my
yeah,
goodness.
yeah. Because that's our stuff is it's an emotional attachment.
It is. Yes, it is. I'm telling you. It
Mm.
was hard. It was real. It was a hard move. And I did it by myself.
Yeah, yeah,
At
you did.
67 years old. Thank you very much. Yes,
That's right.
indeed.
So Connie, with your stuff still in Vegas, you're in Portland, Oregon.
Mm,
Like, when did it just kinda hit in where, less stuff was giving you more clarity? Like, I
mm.
mean,
When I
because,
moved
I mean, I know
home,
me, I probably would have been still in the panic mode, yes. I'm the organizer, yes, 'cause we all have attachment to our stuff, thinking my stuff is like, I don't know how many miles away, I'm here. I mean, and I saw your space, but
yes,
during that time when you didn't have a lot of stuff, you were so happy.
I know, I know. And that happened, Janet. It was when I found this apartment that I'm in now. When I was living in the room of my son's home, just a
Mhm,
small room with a
mhm,
bed and my desk so I could still work and my clothes. And that was it. But it wasn't until I actually moved into my own space, because that was always the goal when I went to my son's house, moved into my own space. Granted, I panicked again because I didn't see how my things were going to fit in this small space. I mean, I went from 1,000 square feet all the way down to 614, and it scared the heck out of me. I've never in my life been in anything this small, ever. I visited places,
mhm,
but
mhm.
I've never. And those videos that you sent me, oh, I mean the tiny house videos, it's like I'm living in a tiny house. Here I am. So again, it wasn't until I moved here that I said, okay, what am I going to keep? What? And oh, the other thing, I had to figure out how to get my stuff here.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, the size of the truck that I needed to get all of my stuff here. And then once it got here, what am I going to do with all of it once it's here? I mean, there was so many still moving pieces
Mhm.
to me moving into a much smaller space, because it wasn't like I could just get a truck and just move everything up and everything was just fine. Things didn't fit. And it was traumatic. It absolutely was. It was the probably the toughest thing that I had to go through. Yeah. But
Yeah. I mean
that's when I noticed, was when I moved here.
I mean, because moving in and of itself is just can
Oh
be overwhelming, not
God.
mentally as well as physically.
Right. Exactly. And I moved twice. I moved
Yeah.
twice in a year.
Yeah, you certainly did, Connie. You certainly did. And of course, we're going to talk about that in another episode. But
Yes, yes, we
you,
will.
but you certainly did. So, Connie, how can like somebody, a friend, family, whatever, support somebody who is going from that big house to something small? I mean, you were at one point in 2,000 square feet. Now you're down in less than 700. And that's like
Huge.
and that's a huge and how do you support someone when they're looking at stuff and all of a sudden they're thinking back to every little ceremony,
Mm,
event,
mm,
emotion that is evoked
mm, mm,
with all the stuff. And I
mm.
mean, and I noticed personally, even after you moved your stuff out of storage and brought it to your new space, you were still like, you know what, this not gonna work.
Exactly, exactly, Janet. It is tough. That I think would be the toughest thing that a person is going to have to go through in their life. And they have got to be ready to do it. And it's tough getting ready. It really, really is. I mean, it took me weeks to get to a place, and the tears and the conversation with friends and family, and running things in your head. It is the most difficult thing that you're going to have to do, but you're going to get to a place at the age that we are. You're going to get to a place where that stuff doesn't matter anymore, that you just let it go, because it is just stuff. That's all. That's it.
Mm, mm.
Now,
Wow, Connie. That's a nice way. That's a nice way to end this segment. Wow,
Yeah,
it is just stuff. Wow.
absolutely.
Mm, mm,
Absolutely.
mm,
Yeah.
mm,
Yeah, it's
mm.
a tough one.
Well, for those
Yeah.
of you who want more of this conversation, continue to follow, of course, me here on YouTube, but also Connie is Silver Haired Wisdom. Oh, and her links will be below. So, of course, we want to thank you so much for joining us from the big house to the cozy corner. And we can't wait for you to continue this conversation with us. So, until next time, you have a great day and thank you so much, Connie. And I can't wait to continue our
Me too.
conversation.